Today I am answering your questions that you've asked about Guam. Last month I had posted a short video inviting you to basically ask me anything. So any questions that were published there, we're gonna go through those and I'm gonna tackle them to the best of my ability. Don't forget, you can also use the timestamps below to skip to the questions that you're most interested in. How often do typhoons happen in Guam, and when does the rainy season start and end? So the rainy season on Guam is usually August to about late October, early November. But this year I noticed that it's actually been a rainier summer than usual, so it's not a very common occurrence. And when I say rainy season, I don't mean that it's raining nonstop throughout these months. It's just more like we have more rainy days than not during that time. Now, as far as typhoons go, the last one we had, the most recent one, was Super Typhoon Mawar, and that was back in May of 2023 at a Category 5. We were living in Virginia at that time, so we didn't personally experience that, but I know a lot of my family and friends who were here, they went through a huge ordeal. The last typhoon that was before Mawar was September 2018 with Typhoon Mangkhut, which was also a Category 5. And before Mangkhut, you're gonna stretch almost 2 decades apart back in December of 2002, which was Typhoon Pongsongna. This was a Category 4/5 typhoon, and I do remember this one because I was fairly young. I think I was either like a preteen or a teenager at the time, and I remember losing power and water for several days. I think maybe almost 2 to 3 weeks. But yeah, it's not a fun time. So backtracking and looking at this timeline, you can see it is very scattered. There's no regular, typhoon occurrence. It's like that one case where it's a 15-year gap, and here and there's like 5 to 6 year gaps between typhoons and tropical storms. But all I can tell you is that Guamanians are very resilient from those experiences. Ask any local and they will tell you how to prepare for a typhoon properly. If you live in Guam, how high is the water bill and electric bills? Water bills range from $40 to $60 a month, while power bills range from $400 to $650 or even a little higher than that per month. And obviously this is going to depend on several factors like the entire square footage of your house, how many bedrooms, do these have split ACs in each room, or is there a central AC for the whole house? And so there are a lot of tips for, like energy saving or, making your power bill more cost efficient for you. You can find this information on the Guam Power Authority website, as well as the Guam Energy Office. And they're gonna share, some basic tips like, maybe closing your shutters, closing your blinds, like minimizing how much sunlight gets into your house throughout the day. Only setting a certain time to have the ACs running, maybe only having it running when you're home. Or if you're comfortable at more room temperature, just having a fan, a ceiling fan going, or like a stationary fan. Little things like that will definitely help with, reducing costs. Being in the States, how many ethnicities did you get mistaken for, but then how often did they get it right? So my ethnicity, I am half Chamorro, half Filipino, so I coined the phrase Chilipino. And while we were living in Virginia, or any time that I have traveled to the continental US, I always got assumed to be just Filipino. And that's because I just have, I inherited more of the Filipino traits in my family. So like the dark hair, the darker skin. However, I did not inherit Filipino singing talent. So, if there was one thing that I wanted to inherit, it would be that. But I don't look like a typical Chamorro. So I'm really not surprised that, people wouldn't ask me if I was a Pacific Islander of some sort. The cool thing was, though, that anytime I would say I was from Guam, there was a surprising number of people who would immediately respond with, "Oh, Hafa-day." And I was like, how do you know that? And they would explain that either they, knew somebody from Guam, or they worked with somebody from Guam. And, come to think of it, Virginia is such a big military hub. So it makes sense that, all of these people may have encountered somebody from Guam at one point in time. Curious about the quality of healthcare on Guam for civilians. Even though I'm prior military, I'm not eligible to use military healthcare facilities. This is going to be a tough one for me to answer because we are a military family. And the last time that I used, local healthcare as a civilian, I think I was maybe in my preteens. Throughout my young adult life, I didn't have a primary care physician, so I didn't really have experience with the healthcare facilities here. However, after doing a little bit of research on, reviews for like urgent care, the GRMC, the Guam Regional Medical City, seems to offer a better overall experience for routine and emergency civilian care in comparison to the Guam Memorial Hospital. Other clinics that you should look into for primary or general care would be Seventh-day Adventist Clinic, Take Care FHP Health Center, American Medical Center, and Hepzibah Family Medicine Clinic. And of course, before receiving any care, you'll want to check for your insurance acceptance prior. What areas have a lot of stray dogs? So there are no specific areas where you're gonna find, majority of stray dogs because they are really scattered all around the island. Thinking back on like all the different areas I lived on Guam, like I lived in Manilao, I lived in Agana Heights, I lived in Sinahanya, I lived in the like Mongmong Totomaiti area. You would just kind of see one or two, maybe like a pack of 5, just randomly. They'll be in residential areas or they might hang outside a grocery store. Some of them might prefer to be on the beach. Some of them might prefer to be hidden within the jungles. There are really no specific areas that I can say like, oh yeah, they're all there. I will say though, it is a goal of mine in the future, like when I'm an old lady, retired, and hopefully a millionaire, but I really would like to have a shelter, like a dog shelter here on Guam. Just have maybe like an acre or 2 of land and have my own like dog ranch to where they, they'll have food, they'll have somewhere to sleep, shelter from storms, like tropical storm weather, shelter from the heat as well. And then they can just live out the rest of their lives, happily there. How can a foreigner with a business visa secure a resident permit in Guam? This is another one where it's going to be a little tough for me to answer because I don't have any expertise in this process, but my Google search provided looking into an EB-5 immigrant investor visa or an E-2 treaty investor visa, but more can be found at investguam.com. Can you show some rental properties and also talk about the VA on the island? So on the topic of the VA, Veterans Affairs, while I don't have any personal or professional experience with this, my light research popped up some things. We do have a community-based outpatient clinic in Agana Heights for primary care, lab work, prosthetics, mental health, and other services for veterans. The most recent news is that Congressman Moylan had submitted a proposal for the relocation of the regional VA office from the Philippines to Guam. This passed the House on June 25th and now moves to the Senate for consideration. So obviously, if this is approved and signed into law, it would be a huge step in providing more support and services for our veterans. As far as showing rental properties around the island, I can't do that in depth right now, but I am going through the course to get my Guam real estate license. So once that's good to go, then I'll obviously have full access to the MLS, and I'd be more than happy at that point to do virtual showings for interested clients. That kind of goes hand in hand with this next question. What is the average rent on a 1-bedroom apartment? Just looking at some local real estate sites, it ranges from as low as $950 to as high as $2205. This will vary depending on square footage and of course location. But again, once I have my official real estate license, then we can expand that search to fit more of your preferences. In the meantime, feel free to connect with me via email at theislandunicorn@gmail.com and send me all your details about your timeline to move. If you enjoyed the video, then please give it a like, and let me know if you want me to do another one like this. Maybe we can make it a monthly thing. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Adios!